Hello and thank you for coming back to my channel. This is Cruisin for a Bruisin with Salam X 1976. Okay, I'm gonna try to be careful here as I'm driving. Got my GoPro hooked up. Today I want to talk about the new weight cutting standards that have been implemented by the California State Athletic Commission. Apparently, they enacted some new weight cutting measurements in February, and I think they go into effect. I don't know if it's immediate, but it will be in effect for UFC 199, which is taking place in Los Angeles. And they're going to be doing urine-specific gravity tests, which, from my understanding, is basically to see how well your kidneys function, and or if you're dehydrated. I don't know what the standard is. I don't know if any of the fighters know what the standard is. Even Dominic Cruz said that, more than likely he's going to be on the scale dehydrated, and he thinks everybody else will too. He said it's just an inevitability. Luke Rockhold says he only cuts about 15 pounds, so he says he thinks he'll be fine. Weight cutting in general is pretty tough because, most of the fighters are fairly lean as it is. Some of the heavier fighters obviously hold a little bit more body fat than others, so they probably have a little bit more leeway to cut fat. But the majority of the weight they cut is within a day or two of the weigh-ins. And if anybody knows anything about nutrition and weight loss, you're not going to cut 5 pounds of fat or 10 pounds of fat. It's all water. It's all hydration. And that's not necessarily bad in itself to cut the water weight out. It's the amount of time you have to rehydrate. Speaking of hydration, so what's up? The amount of time you have to rehydrate, specifically the brain, because your brain is encased in a fluid, and that fluid acts as a buffer, when you do have impact. So if your brain is dehydrated, the fluid around it, and you take what might seem like a normal shot, can cause even more damage. But what is good about the California State Athletic Commission is, I believe they have early weigh-ins as early as 10 a.m. the day before the fight. Sorry about the bouncing. I need to work on my mount, get my mount better from the GoPro. So that's roughly, what is that, about 36 hours before the fight would take place, roughly. Which is, but they have all the way up from 10 a.m. to, I think the official weigh-ins are at 4 or 5 o'clock. So what they would do is, if a fighter chooses to do, is weigh in early, 10 in the morning, officially, where everybody can see it, and then come back for the, the televised weigh-ins. That would be kind of just for show, which I think that's helpful to give them an extra, several hours to hydrate. But I'm not for sure how this gravity test works. I've never had one. I mean, I might have had one when I go to the doctor, but, I'm not fighting, so they're not going to say you're dehydrated or whatever like that. So I'm wondering if there's a specific, number or something the fighters can know, I can only cut, 12 pounds, else my body will be dehydrated on the tests, or 10 pounds or 15 pounds, whatever it may be. Because if a guy goes in to this blind, just doing what he normally does, and then the athletic commission says, this is in violation of our rules, he's dehydrated or whatever, he doesn't pass the physical test, the fight's off. That's going to be horrible, especially if the guy does not know, what are the parameters. So hopefully they'll work with the fighters on this. This is just in California, as far as I know, the hydration test. I don't believe this is in other states at the moment. It might get adopted in the future. But, if it helps the safety of the fighters in the long run, then that's great, Because some of these ridiculous weight cuts, you hear about guys cutting 25, 30 pounds. Ask Johnny Hendricks about a rough weight cut, When you dehydrate yourself so much, your kidneys basically dry up, and it can't flush out all the waste materials, and then it forms kidney stones and scar tissue, and it's just all around bad stuff. So if this in the long run will help the fighter safety, then I think that's something they need to look into. But I think they need to work with the fighters, especially the first go out of this, the first go round, because I promise you, most of the fighters probably have never had a gravity test, and they don't know, because they're all used to dehydrating, plus the ban on IV to rehydrate, so they're kind of double screwed. So hopefully they'll work with them, and if a guy is slightly dehydrated or something, maybe this time around they'll let him fight, and then they'll know the parameters in the future. But I'll try to link the article in the description below. Please let me know what you think about weight cutting. What are some of the horror stories you've heard? Or what do you think? Do you think they should, I would say cut it out, but end all weight cutting? Or what? Leave your comments in the section below. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. It helps me to grow if you share. I appreciate everybody watching. And as always, don't text and drive, and be safe.